You're fulfilling your destiny.
Ahsoka so far is everything I had hoped. A great storyline with stunning visuals, played by an actress that absolutely nails Ahsoka's character. You can't ask for much more. Well, I could, but I won't. I think the time period of 10-ish years after the Rebel Terrorists won is a perfect period and shows how difficult to build a new government really is and how lacking the New Republic was. We're seeing its faults right at the beginning, which would have helped a lot more with the sequel trilogy, but we're not here to rehash that. I want to give huge props because Disney has had some major misses with special effects with some of their shows, and this show's CGI is so good that I find scenes breathtaking. Lothal and Corellia were so gorgeous, I had to pause the show. The ships also are just beautiful. I am floored this is possible for a TV show. Dawson as Ahsoka is the closest to perfection we'll ever get. Her mannerisms, speech, and personality just nailed. My god, her lightsaber fights are beautiful. Notice how she changes technique based on her enemy, and when she's fighting Balon, that was just lightsaber form porn. If you're into lightsaber battles, and you're a monster if you're not, watch this show just for the fights. They are so well choreographed and so well executed, it makes you hate some of the other Star Wars stuff Disney has shit out. Yang is the second biggest star of the show, voiced by the wonderful David Tennant. His dialogue is some of the best and funniest of anyone. A rogue ex-Jedi with an ancient droid that served the Jedi Order for centuries and centuries, and his rigidness in doing so is a goldmine for comedy. Also, the brutal honesty of droids just makes him so wonderful. I always get worried about droids in live action because they can be used too much for comic relief, but again, this guy is just perfection on so many levels, and I love every scene he's in. We must protect him from the evil hands of the mouse and their greed that has no bounds. Hera isn't perfect, but maybe age has cut down on her bossiness. I think the last 2 episodes she was in, really, she got to shine. She just seems way more passive in a lot of regards. Jason is great casting and looks a lot like Kanan, also not an annoying child actor, yet. Chopper is a homicidal maniac, and they are not sugarcoating him. That thing is responsible for some of the worst war crimes in Rebel history, which is saying something because one of their heroes single-handedly killed 1 million people in one sadistic attack that left hundreds of families destroyed. Love that he wanted to down the escaping ship over a populated area on Corellia. That droid just has no respect for organic life, and I admire that. I may have almost died laughing when he was telling Hera she touched his stuff. She denied it, and you could hear in his droid voice his little beep boops going, "Yes, you did." It was just fucking gold. Crazy that Hera has him keep an eye on Ezra. Also crazy she brought her kid to what she knew would likely be a dangerous situation. Hera's kind of a bad mom. I guess the Jedi put toddlers in training to murder, so her kid, if it has the Force and wants to become a Jedi, learning to have zero regard for human life, or just life in general, is a pretty good start. So maybe she does know what she's doing. I didn't like Sabine in the first episode, but she got way better. The mopey running away from everything trope because a friend is gone is just so overdone. Also, she's like 30. This is teenager shit. Being a cool loner badass that has zero regard for the law is cool in your teens and maybe early 20s. But girl, by the time you're pushing 30, you should have calmed down a bit. Honestly, it would have been neat to see her working herself to death instead to honor Ezra, but that would make her character way too complex, I guess. Kinda dark that her whole family got glassed on Mandalore. I can definitely see that leaning into why she's so standoffish with Ahsoka and trying so hard to save the only true family she has left. However, she's like 0 for 2 with that, come on. First, losing the map because she just couldn't not be a brat and stay on the ship and figure it out, and then she just hands the map over to Balon. Like, girl, no wonder Ahsoka didn't want to complete your training. You're just a fucking mess. Balon, by the way, is the sexy new Darksider we all needed. Major evil grandfather vibes that I'm just here for. I am just swooning every time he opens his mouth. Hell, he doesn't even have to open his mouth. He can just come on screen. My god. My guess for Balon is he is either A, going to try to kill Thrawn to prevent a war, or B, he realizes Palpatine was right and the galaxy needs a hand around its throat for anything to get done. Can you really trust the New Republic when they are run by people that have thrown the galaxy into the chaos it's at this point? Heck no. Thank God we saw people loyal to the Empire in there. And as we know, House Palpatine wins in the end when his bloodline continues to go on and the Skywalkers are extinct, so clearly we know who the real heroes are. Those loyal to the Empire or those that thought the Empire had some good points points is a continued issue with the New Republic, to the point where some senators have collectibles from the Empire and look up to it, and this is decades later. This isn't just a decade later. When we have novels from right before the sequel trilogy, we see there are still people that are really into the Empire still, which obviously is something people like Leia and others that fought in the war are disgusted by. It's pretty bad with younger people that either, one, they weren't alive by the fall of the Empire, or they were so young they don't remember it, so they're able to look back in recent history, see the merits of the Empire without experiencing the horror of it. So it's kind of cool that they're touching on those seeds and how the enthusiasm for the Empire might stay around. Morak was everything I needed him to be, reanimated with Dark Sister magic Inquisitor that didn't need to talk or show his face. That dust at the end was just wonderful. You always need an expendable bad guy that's a total bamf to just be taken out by the hero in the end, or middle of the story. I'm not sure why Baylan and Shin have orangish lightsabers when it was super obvious next to the zombie Inquisitor that his lightsaber was red. Also, it was super obvious next to the red blaster bolts. Have they given a reason for it yet? Maybe they just haven't poured enough paint in it so it's only like orangish red? I don't know. Shin I was torn on at first. Some of her expressions seemed a bit off, like she was leaning forward and glaring at nothing. Like there were times where I like paused the scene and then I'd go forward or backwards a little bit and I'm like, what? Girl, what are you leaning forward and glaring at? Was there something there, or did they misdirect your where you're supposed to be looking during filming? What is going on? But as the episodes went on, she got a lot better, and I would love to see her just sulking around the galaxy, doing evil fun stuff, leaning forward randomly and glaring at things that aren't there. I don't know how Sabine held any ground with her, but I guess she's fairly new in training to not instantly curb stomp Sabine. I get Baylan holding his own against Ahsoka. He finished the Jedi training and stayed with the Order until he was forced to flee due to Order 66. Then he figured out what every smart person eventually does: the Jedi Order sucked, and something else is needed to keep the galaxy at peace. Morgan being a remaining Dark Sister wanting Thrawn back is one of the best ways they could have went with this story, I think. Her actress is doing an adequate job and no real complaints on her. Her outfits, along with Ahsoka's, are 10 out of 10 though. Ahsoka's entire look is just so good. I'm sorry, I gotta stop just raving about Ahsoka. Between Worlds was something I didn't bet on, and Anakin looked okay. I'm excited to see Hayden getting some love as Anakin again, but the de-aging is so hit and miss, and his face definitely looked weird. It looked a little weird. I've enjoyed the numerous parallels they have between Anakin and Ahsoka in these first episodes, down to how he crosses his arms, she would do the same thing, even how they stand being mirrored in Ahsoka. It's so well done. The attention to details is so good. Now maybe they can lean more heavily into Anakin being the chosen one for realsies and not Papa Palpatine's granddaughter, but I guess we'll see where this goes. Anakin and Ahsoka's conversation next episode is going to be a good therapy session. They're both quitters that have made some grave mistakes. Though, in fairness, not completely their fault because they were kidnapped by kid snatchers that tried to brainwash them. Like, think about this. Yoda's plan, knowing Anakin was a slave boy with severe mommy issues and separation anxiety, wanted Anakin to get attached to Ahsoka so he could later sever that connection. That's just some dark shit from the supposed good guys. Their conversation will also hopefully ease some fans over their anger how they handled the Skywalkers and their place in the story, something probably needed before the Rey-centric movies are released. Now let's play the How Does Baylan Know Anakin game real quick. I think that Baylan was in the Jedi Temple when Anakin cleaned house. He may have put the Padawans in the room together and then saw what his actions and Anakin did. This broke him at such a deep level, he's become pragmatic and detached, wanting only stability, which he believes Thrawn will bring through his rational, strong leadership. Or Baylan is the right age to have a Padawan under him during Revenge of the Sith. So maybe he watched his Padawan die in Order 66 and realized that the Jedi Order, and all its flaws, led to that moment, and now it's turned him to the dark side. So I give Ahsoka 8.5 out of 10 so far. Some tired old tropes with some choppy acting, but overall, so absolutely good. I can look past the imperfections for the gold they're giving us.